and have it.
Yeah, I was thinking about 30 minutes. So the
Mhm.
point is, I just wanted to go over, um, like just to be a resource for marketing, because I know that usually when people are starting up their businesses or even for established advisors, one of the biggest things is how do I get new interest? How do I
Mhm.
keep people interested? But also, like, how do I get new people to come to me into my business? So I have a LinkedIn specialization. I um I do specialize in online marketing, much so, like much more so rather than like print marketing or seminars. So anything digital, like newsletters, internet, social media, YouTube, all of these are areas that I'm very knowledgeable, and I just want to be a resource to all of you advisors that are on the line today to field any questions. I could talk a little bit about, for example, LinkedIn, how to get new clients on LinkedIn.
I think it's a great place to start. I know, and you and I had talked to, previously too. You kind of know what we're about. We've got good folks who have been doing this a long time and good folks who are coming into the world from, maybe just getting started or career changers. And that's one of the biggest questions is like, where do we start? And I know some of us might trickle in here. We may have a couple specific questions, but just yeah, getting the conversation started of where do we even begin? I think people go to LinkedIn first. I'm curious to know your thoughts on Facebook groups. I think that's kind of an untapped place too, that a few of us are doing, but it's worth talking about. And I know you got some laryngitis going, so we won't like belabor you either, but yeah, just to
Yeah.
kind of hear your thoughts or where you would begin.
Well, I would say that the biggest thing is, where do your target clients really hang out? Um, what kind of questions do they, it's just knowing your target client. What kind of questions do they have? Because you'll find that they tend to ask the same questions over and over again. That the questions that one target prospect has are usually not that different from three or four others. They're probably going to have the same questions in their mind. Okay. So, how do I create a community? How do I create a community where I can be a resource for people and answer those questions? Okay. So, for example, um, on LinkedIn, you could be targeting executives that work at a particular Fortune 500 company near you. What you could do is you could create a guide to the benefits. I'm going to show you um, an excellent company that's done exactly that. It's called Avier Advisors. And here I'm going to put actually the link in the chat.
Hmm.
Welcome to everybody. By the way, if you haven't connected with me on LinkedIn, please do so. I think I know Patrick. Hi, Emily. I've never met you. John. Hi, I'm Sarah Grillo. It's on LinkedIn as Sarah Grillo CFA. If we're not connected, please send me a connection request. So, for example, if you look at Avier Advisors, I'll share the screen as well. You can see that they've done a great job. If you come over here and you look at insights, look at all the different companies that they're talking about. And they're talking about them in such detail. Microsoft, Amazon, Nike, Meta. I mean, if you look at deferred compensation, like this stuff can get really difficult. And what they've done is they've created, I mean, look at how they just have it directly on their website. Important DCP enrollment dates for Microsoft employees. They're becoming a resource right away. How it can help you reduce your tax bill. And then they have a whole video on it. And I've seen these videos and they're great. They use Loom, they cover the specific benefit schedules, they map out scenarios. So, this is an example of what I mean by being a resource to a community. On LinkedIn, you can use LinkedIn to find Microsoft employees, Amazon employees, whatever a Fortune 5 company is near you, or a large company, it doesn't have to be one of the biggest. That's how I would use LinkedIn. That would be the easiest way to get new clients using LinkedIn. It's always better if you niche down, makes the marketing a lot easier. Also, you could use Facebook groups. For example, I have a special needs son. I was in a parents group for special needs kids, and there was this lawyer, and I had posted a question, and this lawyer answered it. And he didn't even market himself to me or anything. But he was so caring the way he answered it that I asked him to review a contract for me, and I paid him for it. And if I had to actually sue the school system on my son's behalf, then I would have hired him to do that. So it's really about just being a resource. I think a lot of times people get so hung up on, I got to get the leads, I got to do this or that. But really, if you're doing a great job providing value to people, it's inevitable that somewhere along the line, somebody's probably going to come back to you.
Mm-hmm. We talk about the word serendipity over here, and people are probably laughing. And so, and I'm glad we're recording this because I had several messages saying, "Hey, can you record it?" It's just, the time of year. But just putting something out into the world that is good and valuable to others without an expectation, it does tend to happen for us. And it can be random connections we don't know, are coming. But like you said, just going out there, being helpful without any expectation, without pushing ourselves, people can look up what we do. That's the whole notion of being online. They can look really quickly. Oh, John, you do this. Hey, that's really cool. Or hey, Patrick, I noticed you do that. We should talk. Without, and I know Patrick really well personally. He doesn't go around throwing business cards at people. He's just a good person, and people can say, "Hey, you do this. That's interesting."
The other thing that will kind of tip off people to what you do, if you want to be a little bit less subtle about it,
Mm-hmm.
is when you talk about these things, talk about an example. Be like, hey, Mary was a Microsoft employee. She had vested stock options with a taxable gain of $500,000. She didn't know what to do. We found that by looking at right?
Mm-hmm.
The way that you talk about it, see, you're not telling your story, you're telling her story, but you're kind of telling your story at the same time because you're involved and you're telling it through your lens, which is helping people understand, how do you perceive people? How do you perceive the people that you work with? So let's see, I have some questions here. Some of us are employed and can't solicit employees of a company directly. Maybe a Facebook group or a resource site focused on those employees may be an option, trying to connect without getting in trouble. Well, wait, what do you mean? Oh, so I mean, like you're saying if you're employed, like for example, what if you were employed like by Microsoft and you couldn't solicit Microsoft employees?
Yeah, but you're an advisor that maybe wants to specialize in working with people that and you could. So just trying to think of, is there ways to do that and still get your name out there without, potentially get yourself in trouble? So I've already had experience with this once and I've got myself in trouble once, so I don't want to do that again. But I'm also thinking like I'm working around, probably 25, 30 people at least that I could maybe work with if I could actually talk to them about it, and I'm not really allowed to. So just trying to think of ways that don't get me in trouble, but also could still raise awareness, I don't know, just a thought.
Well, what you could do is, so here's right here. I just put into the chat. You should be SEO optimizing your content. It's absolutely an advantage that you have versus the wirehouses and the bigger firms, because RIA firms do tend to have a lot more flexibility when it comes to the content that they could publish on the internet. Number 6 in that blog is going to teach you for free how to optimize a blog for SEO. So, for example, guide to Amazon stock options, a guide to hidden levers stock options. Okay. Use Google to capture traffic from people that are seeking information on this subject. Have a newsletter that they can sign up for if they're not ready to move forward at that point. but still want to hear from you. That's what I would do first of all. Second of all, I would connect with your colleagues on LinkedIn and then be posting these things. Hey, here's what Microsoft employees should be doing in the month of December to prepare themselves for the new year. You can make videos, you can do social media postings, but really get into depth about it. I don't mean to use Xavier as an example because of the companies that they cover. I'm not trying to shuffle everybody into covering Microsoft and Amazon and Nike. What they've done is a model. You could do it for Boeing. You could do it for Lockheed Martin. You could do it for Tesla. You could do it for any company where you can find out publicly what their benefits are. Or maybe if you have a client at one of those companies, you can ask them for the summary plan description and a copy of the investment options. You can create all kinds of really insightful content on this kind of stuff. Does that help, Patrick?
Yes, it does. Sorry, I had to step away for a quick second. I was listening. I just wasn't up right here. So thank you.
Yeah.
I like that point that you brought up too. And I just want to pick one piece of it out is just be in the public face. You don't have to be speaking to those employees directly, but you're just speaking and they will inevitably see it. And like you said, if you can get hand on plan documents, especially these days, you can get language models to break it up, summarize, find key points, make sure people don't miss a date, make sure they know, hey, enrollment time, all these helpful things just shows the public that you are on top of it for them.
Maybe not just on top of it. Like if you look at the Aviator Advisors website, they look like they're the best. I mean, you might not have another website, another advisor who's analyzing Microsoft and Nike and Amazon or whatever. But the way that they look awesome. And so this is the other thing I would say. Whatever you decide to do, be the best. And it's not that you're going to be competitive and go out there and try to wish ill on anybody else. But find out what the competition's doing. Don't copy them, but just do better than them. Go further. Say to yourself, what are 6 ways that I could make this marketing copy better? What are 6 things that they're not doing? It just could be presenting it differently. Maybe their graphs aren't looking great. You could say, if I were to present a graph on this same thing, I would put in a green circle to show people what the trend is. That way they can understand the data better. I would say take a page from the competition's book, never plagiarize or copy, never do anything negative to them, but absolutely be better than them. Because if they're producing a lot of content on a specific topic, you can bet that they're probably doing it because they're getting traction. And if they can get traction for it, then you can get traction for it. And you'll get that much more traffic and attention if you do it better than them.
I agree. And I think people have such a way of finding everything they need online, including us, that they're not going to go, oh, this looks like the second best. Let's go with them.
The other thing is I would focus on clarity and transparency.
Mm-hmm.
So I live in New York City, and actually, believe it or not, at the age of 47, this is the first time I'm starting to actually own my own real estate. And the reason is I have 4 children and I need at least, I mean, there was, when it's like, are we done having kids? When are we going to be done having kids? Right. And then we were done having kids. And then we found out my son has special needs. And that took us a little bit of a detour. So now we're finally looking for real estate, right? Done having kids, got some stuff resolved with my son. I'm finally, age of 47, looking for my first home. And so I went online and I was looking at this guy's YouTube channel. Like I typed in actually, because I was thinking, do I even want to buy in New York? Maybe because it's like my dream, believe it or not, to live on a farm. Mm-hmm. Like I have this fantasy of like making cheese and butter and stuff like by hand and milking cows and stuff. Like it's so weird. I know. So I looked up how to buy vacant land. Well, wouldn't you know, I found this awesome guy who makes all these videos. And he's like, the thing that was exceptional about him, his name's Wayne. Wayne Turner, by the way. If just check out his videos, he's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what makes him awesome. He just provides, he just cares so much about giving you the information that he puts that at the center, at the front of the video. And he doesn't bother with any of this. Subscribe to like I had to go and look him up.
Mm-hmm.
He presented his information clearly below the video. Because I'm like, I want to work with one of this guy's realtors. That was how compelled I was, everybody. And the reason was he was so concerned. He talked about every little detail. He said, look, when you go, this was exceptional. When you go look at a piece of vacant land, make sure you wear boots and long pants because there could be fleas or bugs and he like, it made me trust him because it showed his mindset that he was more interested in me. He doesn't even know me. I'm not his client, but it made me want to be his client because he, like, who else says that in a video about vacant land? Because all these other guys were like, hey, download our spreadsheet. Hi, John. Hey, download our spreadsheet. Subscribe to this channel. I mean, he made one subscription request, the whole video in the middle of it. That wasn't what was on his mind. But I had already done it by that point because I'm like, who else is going to take care of me like Wayne?
Mm-hmm.
Like he was so caring. And he just said, look, I made a lot of mistakes in real estate. I learned a lot of lessons and I'm just here so that you don't waste your money. Awesome. Be that person, everybody. Just be that person. Just go out, just put it out there and have it be the best so that they could truly use it to improve their lives. And don't worry about them coming back to you because it's endearing if you don't push that agenda. If I have to look you up and wrangle you down to find out your website, like I'm that much more convinced of your quality.
I love hearing that. And I love that that message is coming here to us because you kind of know who we are. We do not appeal to the type who comes in with this puffy chest of, hey, come with me and if you're lucky, I'll give you a trickle of information. I love hearing this message of give them everything. And they'll still need more. They'll still need help, but give them everything.
Right. The other thing is, and like I say this all the time, focus on weird clients. There's so much opportunity for like the ones that nobody else will touch. I always hear the financial advisors be like, yeah, I want to work with doctors. Doctors are ready to like slam dunk your LinkedIn message back to you. Okay. Mm-hmm. They don't want to be contacted by you because every single advisor out there, I mean, ever since they're in medical school, they've had the AXA advisor come in, try to sell them disability insurance. Everyone's trying to sell them the whole world. I had this one guy, he focused on tattoo artists. Weird, wacky niche. One guy focused on, I don't want to use the word. What is the word for this? People who have visa issues. Weird, mm-hmm. Right? Like weird, idiosyncratic, rare things. There's one guy that focused on fly fishers, like, or bass, something like bass fishermen, fisher people. So sorry, I don't mean to offend anybody. I don't know. Is that the word for it? Anyways.
People who fish. Yeah, I get it. But it's
like
funny. Patrick had to
fish
hop
competitively.
Patrick's really good at fishing
because he found out he was like kind of from that culture. He had people
Mhm.
in his family that did it. And then he found out that the prize trophies are like $1 million. So don't be afraid to kind of go for the untouched territory. And there will be wealthy people that you can help. Like take any profession. There's people that aren't doing well in it, but there's at least like 70 people that are making a living at it good enough that you could help them.
Mhm.
And
Don,
you
it's good
never
to
know
see
what
you.
side gigs people have nowadays.
Well, this is a random story. I talked to someone who they were really big into like card games. I forget the name. Some of these like Dungeons and Dragons type games. Those games. And there was this whole culture that he was part of and got millions of dollars in new assets because he just knew their world and culture and spoke their language and befriended each other. And that was his thing. And it doesn't mean that we have to make our own niches toward where the money is. Our niche should be where our hearts are, and that will just naturally show.
Right. Like that guy, Wayne. Like
Hmm.
he honestly has his heart in it.
Hmm.
But, and I mean, yeah, you have to have your heart in it, but you also have to do certain technical things right. So, I mean, I do have a newsletter, a daily newsletter. You can sign up on my website. It's a free newsletter, and I cover questions, one question a day that people ask me. So people saying, which email software is better, Constant Contact or MailChimp? I'll answer it. Like you do need the technical skills. You do need to know how to do certain stuff. But there's nothing that me or anybody else, you could do a YouTube search that anybody couldn't teach you. The issue is definitely there's too much of a focus on the outcome, and there's not enough of a focus on what do people really need to know about? What do people really care about? For example, if you go on Reddit, on the personal finance forum of Reddit, I love these questions that people ask on here. So here, I'm going to show you this. Look at this posting right here. My parents need help with their debt.
Hmm.
Now, most financial advisors will not touch this. Okay. Because what's in it for me? If the parents are in debt, then the kid's not getting an inheritance. I need to make a sale. There's no sale here. But guess what? This person she says, I have 2 kids. The sister, grandmother, and I live all under the same roof. These people are probably a little bit worried. This is a close-knit family. They're probably worried emotionally. It's causing them a lot of stress. Why not write a blog about that? My parents have no savings and they are in debt. Why not write a blog about that and then post it to this Reddit forum? Well, I don't know if you could post links on Reddit, but post the actual words that you wrote. You can't put a link in because I think that's too commercial. But let's say you wrote a whole 1,000-page or 1,000-word response to these people. They would be like, they would be so grateful. And you just don't know what they could do for you. But it's a good question. I mean, how many people have parents with debt? And it doesn't mean that they're debtors. It's just an example of, doing it right and being relevant. You have to know certain ways to technically maneuver here too. Like you would need to know, don't post your link into Reddit, they're going to kick you off Reddit. So you do need a little bit of marketing guidance. You can always ask me. I am a big fan of what you all are doing with your RIA firm. And so I would love to just be a resource if you have questions.
If I
And
could
like I
build
said,
on
I have
that
my team.
too, and I don't want to, I'm sorry if I interrupted you there. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, and for those who can't be here too, and Sarah did not ask me to bring this up, but follow her transparent advisor movement. And Sarah also does run an annual meetup that is super compelling. I think the next one is in Kansas City in the spring. But check it out and connect with her on that. And that's not why she wanted to come here. She honestly said, I love what you're doing. I want to come and just introduce myself and be a resource. But I wanted to at least get that out there too, to check out this movement that she's spearheading. It's pretty phenomenal. And there's a lot of people I've seen in the groups that names you would recognize. I think even a couple of us here are getting more active in that too. So definitely check it out. And no, that's all. I wanted to plug it. So
Thank you. Yeah, okay. The link is in the chat for the Transparent
Mhm.
Advisor movement. So we have a virtual meetup every month, and then we have an in-person one in Kansas City. The reason I'm doing all this is I want to support financial advisors who are helping America. And I feel like the way that you all have this set up, it really is going to be able to reach those who really need the advice. And it's doing it in the right way. I really love America. I have a very patriotic feeling about my country. My father was in the military. I'm grateful to my country. And I love family. Like, I love my family. I love my church. But I know that our industry doesn't really have a great reputation. And so I want to help the people who I feel are doing it right. And that's what my effort has been, to help you get some visibility out there, because I'm sick of Smart Asset and, New York Life. And I mean, I'm sick of veterans getting sucked in by New York Life agents. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. Really, like I'm sick of our industry preying on the most vulnerable people and destroying the middle class. Like, I'm really sick of it. I'm not trying to be negative or anything, but that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. I sincerely feel this way. And like I said, I just love my family. I love being part of my community, my church community, and things like that. And I just think as a financial advisor, you're in such a powerful position. But it's frustrating because without a huge marketing budget, you might get kind of pushed aside. But that's no reason, because if you have more sincerity, more genuine interest, and you're willing to do the stuff that no one else is willing to do in our industry, then it's going to work out way better for you in the long term. It might not feel too good at times, and you might be like, am I nuts? What am I doing this for? But it's going to work out better.
just keep showing up. Yeah.
Well, yeah, you got to keep showing up, but there's also things you have to do right too. Like, you have to run the meeting right. You have to ask the questions right. You have to be brief. I mean, I can't emphasize it enough. There's so much of an overload of information. A lot of times advisors don't really present things clearly. Like, I mean, the biggest thing I end up doing as a marketing person is not creating more content. It's dividing content. It's clarifying concepts. It's clarifying terms people are putting out there that they have no idea. DAF, what's a DAF, right? It's because, remember, the industry does things on purpose to confuse people. So if you're going to be that beacon, be the beacon of clarity. Just go step by step and define terms clearly and talk about what they really are. It's going to go better. You're going to be different. A lot of times financial advisors write content that other financial advisors like, but the end client doesn't, because it's too technical. It's not the right question. It's not relevant.
I see a lot of that. People writing for the accolades of the industry rather than the people they need to serve. But I know we're also coming up on 30 or so minutes. I want to be respectful of your time, but also if anyone had questions, or, you know, Dawn, John, or Emily, or Danny, if you had a question, to give you the space to do that. I have to hop in a few minutes, but I can go to mobile, but I just want to make sure, yeah, I give you the space to do that.
I'll jump in then. Thanks so much for sharing, Sarah. Like I love what you're sharing about like reaching people who aren't usually reached. And I've really found my niche to be women and people that are building first and second generation wealth. So I think at other companies they called it more like emerging wealth, but I think the place I'm passionate about is like helping people with their early stages so that they can get to a place of positive cash flow, debt management, so that they can like also develop the discipline of investing for the long term and building wealth there. So it's been a slow start. This is still my first year. So I've been in the field 20 years, but do you have any insight or guidance or tips for like reaching swaths of people that probably need planning the most because they may not just have the excess money, like middle class working people that they have fine income, but they probably need to be the most careful, but they also are not used to paying for advice. I will say I did kind of, I'm trying out a program that I started where, there are just small bites of advice that they can get at like very low flat fee prices. Like, here's a flat fee, let's just talk budget. And then here's another flat fee, let's talk this next step and then grow from there. I'm trying out all kinds of things like that, but, are there any thoughts for captivating people who aren't used to paying for planning yet and don't know how much they really need it?
I mean, it's a bigger question of business model. On my transparency movement, there are people that are doing this for subscription fees, like a smaller monthly fee that includes a certain amount of services. That can sometimes be more palatable for a person like that.
Mhm.
What you might want to do is create a like a monthly webinar and just get folks to come to a webinar, because a lot of times you can build the trust there and it can reduce the sticker shock. I would say just get as many questions from these folks as you can and develop an arsenal of relevant questions that someone in that position would have. What are the first time wealth builders? Because I love that you're doing that.
Thanks.
Right. The people that didn't have the great role models, that aren't getting an inheritance. These are vulnerable people. And unfortunately, Dawn, a lot of times those are the ones that are preyed upon.
Mhm.
So I would show your value by just being the best possible resource in the relevant questions that they ask. You also could do a little bit of consumer advocacy in your communications, in your content. Talk about don't get taken advantage of by a debt consolidation company. How not to get taken advantage of when you're buying life insurance. Don't get them to upgrade you to whole life, et cetera, right? Like the consumers that don't really have the extra cash are a lot of times these people are vulnerable, and by shedding light and trying to show that you're there to protect them first, that could really be helpful. I mean, everybody needs protection, but especially people who would really be in a bad position.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Here, by the way, just want to let you know, and this is just going really.
Okay. I hear you, Guy. Well, we could just end the webinar if no one else has any questions. Please send me a connection request on LinkedIn and my website. Here, I'm just going to put it in the chat real quick. Is sarahgrillo.com. If you sign up for my free newsletter, you'll get a tip a day. You can ask me a question. I'll answer it in the newsletter. I'll flesh it out. Answer it in the newsletter. You'll have it in your inbox. But I don't want anyone to feel like they're alone or that they don't have a good resource, because I know what that's like. Like at one point I was an advisor, I was starting out, I had these kids, young kids, and I didn't have a heck of a lot of money to spend on marketing. And I felt like I was all alone. But I don't want anyone to feel like that. You know, I have a lot of free resources. So please just don't feel alone. Just come to me. You know, if I can't help you, I'll try to find somebody who can for free, give you content that will be useful to you.
That is amazing. And I'm again grateful. I'll make sure all the links also get into our chats so that others who couldn't make it today are able to look this up and to connect with you. It all starts with that connection.
Yeah.
And your willingness to hop in and give some of your time. I know a lot of us really appreciate that. So thank you.
Amen. Thank you. All right. I'm going to end the webinar now. Okay, everybody?
Mhm. Right.
Okay.
Thanks, Sarah.
Bye. Thanks for being here. Bye.